Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. And if you're new, my name is Lorraine and my channel is Lo's Life and Lessons. We talk about a variety of topics here, but we're going to talk about something today that I have never talked about. I was inspired to talk about this topic by Palm Springs Cindy and Eric. Now, they are a couple who met online, I think about a year ago, and they have made a couple of videos talking about their various experiences about online dating, specifically seniors online dating. So I'm going to give you my take on that. I was also inspired by a friend of mine who, after only a few months, did find a nice man that she spent some time with. Now, that relationship didn't last, but nevertheless, it was a good relationship, although fairly short, but he was a nice man and they got along really well and had a good time. Also, I was inspired by a friend of mine who has a friend who is an engineer, a very well-educated lady, and she found her companion on Plenty of Fish. So now I have been single for many years, but I did some online dating about 6 years ago for several years, and I met some very nice men, went on a few dates. Nothing serious ever came of any of those relationships. So about 6 years ago, I just kind of got off the whole online thing. And then, of course, COVID came along, so within those 6 years. So now, at the age of 76, I'm thinking, well, my goodness, maybe I'll have one last try at the dating scene and just see what happens. So about 10 days ago, I signed up on Plenty of Fish. I signed up for only 3 months. Now, Plenty of Fish is a dating site that has been around for a long time. And at various times, it hasn't had the best reputation. I'm not sure about that. I have known people who have met very nice companions on that website. I don't know if it's really that different from the others. I don't know. But I do find that signing up this time, there's quite an improvement in the website itself as far as ease of use. And there are features that you can pay a little bit for that are very useful, and the cost is reasonable. So allow me to share with you some of the experiences that I've had in online dating. I haven't actually dated anybody yet, haven't met anybody yet, but some of the experiences I've had just exchanging messages and even phone calls. And at the end of the video, I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room, which is specific to my own situation. So I hope that you will hang in till the end and I'll tell you the biggest deal for me in this online dating scenario. Well, first of all, you know, the profile, who knows what to put in a profile? You don't want it to be too long, you don't want it to be too short, or you don't want it to be negative, but you don't want to come on too strong. And the same with the men. And I do find some of the men's profiles are quite interesting. A couple of them just say, I don't want any BS. And one guy said, I'm not an ATM. One thing that really turns me off is that some of the men have really bad punctuation and grammar. I mean, they don't seem to be able to string a sentence together. With my experience several years ago, I think I can pretty much pick out a scammer. So I understand that if people who don't have English as a first language would do that, and then that's an immediate red flag, right? But no, these are people who live in my community who say that their first language is English, and they just, now, I don't know, is it that they're not educated? Is it that they're just being careless? And if that's the case, then I find that if they're not willing to put a bit of effort into putting their best self forward in the profile, I'm not sure about that. So those are the ones I kind of skip over. Now, my strategy, if I really have a strategy, is to exchange a few messages, just find out exactly where they live, because I don't want anybody to be driving all over the place. I don't have a car. So that's another thing that might not be in my favor. But, you know, somebody in my neighborhood, like within 50 kilometers, is ideal. And so I like to find out a few basic things like that. And then I like to make a phone call. You can tell a whole lot about a man by the sound of his voice, by the way he uses his language, and by his energy level on the phone. So I find that very helpful. Now, before we ever got to that stage, I was exchanging messages with a man, and I was telling him a little bit about my previous experience and that I had been on my own for the last 6 years and hadn't been doing any dating. And he responded by saying, "What? So you haven't had sex In 6 years? I just can't believe that anybody thinks it's okay to say that to a woman that they're trying to impress. I can't believe that a man would say that to a woman and think it's okay. So I immediately blocked him. You know, that might seem harsh. I could just end the conversation, but I don't want to risk anybody harassing me or coming back and say, oh, you never answered me, or I just don't want to risk it. So I find it safer. It makes me feel more secure just to block these people. Another man who was actually quite a bit out of town, and he was 71 years old, he asked me if I enjoyed erotic chatting. So again, I don't even think I answered that one. I think I blocked him also. Another man, though, said right in his profile, he said, you know, I don't want to meet anybody. I just want to chit-chat on here, and I don't want to meet anybody. So he was honest about that, which I really appreciated. Another man, too, we exchanged a few messages, and it became clear that we weren't going to make a connection. And he said in his message that he's looking more for an FWB situation, friends with benefits. And he suspected that I was not looking for the same thing. So I responded, no, he's right. I'm not looking for that. And you know what? I admired his honesty, because if he's looking for that and he finds somebody who wants that also, all the more power to him. But he was very polite and respectful in telling me, and of course then we ended the conversation. One man sent me a message, his first message, and he lived way out of town, like he lived about a 6-hour drive from here. His first message was, come and see me. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. One 79-year-old man that I was exchanging messages with said that he was very active and that he was going to be playing tennis 5 times next week. Well, I knew right off the bat that I would not be able to keep up with his level of energy. One thing I notice when I'm exchanging messages is the flow of the conversation. You know, he exchanges something about himself, I tell him something about myself. But when I ask a question like, were you brought up in this city, or where do you live? Do you live near me? And they don't answer, then that does not add to the flow of the conversation. Now, a few positive things though. I did have a lovely conversation with a man on the phone. I've only talked to 2 men on the phone so far. I haven't met anybody yet. Now, the first man, I could tell right away there was no connection. He was very nervous. And I understand that because I was a bit nervous myself. But I just could not seem to get the flow of conversation going with him, and it gets very awkward on the phone. But the second man that I had a phone conversation with, it was completely different. He was very easygoing, he was very informal, and I really enjoyed chatting with him on the phone. And we've made a date to meet for coffee early next week. So I'll have to let you know how that goes. And I look forward to meeting him. Now, I said I was going to talk about the major issue for me and the elephant in the room. And this is the fact that I use a walker. If I'm walking any distance in order to keep my balance, I need to use a walker. And I have done so for the last, 12 or 15 years. It's just part of who I am. And I'm not apologizing for it, but I am self-conscious about it. And I think it's only fair to let the man know that this is what I have to do. Now, if I'm going to a theater or a cinema or a restaurant, I don't need my walker. If I'm just walking from the car to a building, I certainly don't need it. But if I'm going for a walk in the park or going shopping in the mall, I need to bring my walker. So I just agonized over this. Oh my gosh. When should I bring that up? Should I put it right in my profile right off the bat? Should I let it enter into the conversation when we're exchanging messages? Should I wait till I'm chatting with him on the phone? Now, one thing that I think is not fair is to show up at a meeting for coffee or dinner or whatever with my walker, with him having no warning. Now, if being with a woman who has to use a walker is unacceptable to a man for any reason, that's his prerogative, really, and I'm not judging that one way or the other. So I do think it's fair to let him know at some point, but I just agonized over this. So I ended up putting it right in my profile, right off the bat, so that if it is a problem, then he won't contact me at all. Now, having said that, we all know that sometimes men all they want to look at is the pictures. They are visual creatures, and so are we for that matter, but I think men more so. They look at the picture, if they are attracted, then they push the button. So they may not even read the profile, but at least I know that I've told them up front. So that is my biggest problem. I don't know what's going to happen. Like I say, it's only been 10 days. We'll see what happens. I'm quite content on my own. I would like to have a companion to spend the rest of my life with, to add to my life, and I would add to his. So we'll just see what happens. I'd love to know your experience with online dating, especially if you're a senior, because we have unique challenges. We certainly do. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos about this topic, and it's a big one, and there are a lot of concerns for older people going online seeking a partner. Thank you for spending some time with me today. I hope you will subscribe to my channel, and I love you all so much for supporting me. Thank you again. Take care. Have a great day. Bye for now.